It lasted less than a second. No words, no whistle, no replay review, just a missed handshake and a moment that split the basketball world in half. In the aftermath of a routine Team USA exhibition, Caitlin Clark walked the line like every athlete before her until she reached Angel Reese and then nothing. A pivot, a step forward, no contact. By the time anyone realized it, the clip was everywhere, slowed down, zoomed in, replayed like evidence in a trial, analysts studying body language, fans choosing sides, narratives forming in real time.
Iowa's Caitlin Clark has become a national phenom, and some fans say
because this was never just about a handshake. It was about history, rivalry, power, perception, and in a league already balancing growth, spotlight, and scrutiny. This single moment became something far more dangerous. A story people were ready to believe. But what if the story everyone believed is not the real one? Because once you remove the noise, the outrage, and the instant reactions, what actually happened in that line might change everything. Frustration, not hatred. Let us stop pretending and address the question that started all of this. Did Caitlin Clark deliberately ignore Angel Reese? Let us look at this clearly, with no agenda and no loyalty to either side. Caitlin Clark is an elite generational point guard. Her biggest strength, the thing that separates her from every other player, is her spatial awareness. She has a basketball brain that works like a supercomputer. She processes the court in real time, calculating angles, defensive movement, and player positioning faster than the human eye can follow. Go back and watch her Iowa games. Watch the no-look passes she made against LSU in the national championship. Watch the half-court assists she delivered before defenders even realized they were beaten. She does not miss things. She sees passing lanes before they even exist. She reads the court like a chess master reads the board, always 3 steps ahead. She knows where every player is at every moment. That is not hype. That is not fan talk. That is a real, proven skill that makes her special. So the idea that a player with that level of vision did not notice a tall forward standing right in front of her with a hand extended for a handshake is not just unlikely, it is unrealistic. This is the same player who found Gabby Marshall cutting through defenders in the Big Ten tournament without even looking in that direction. The same player who delivered a perfect pass to Aaliyah Edwards through traffic against Connecticut. You are saying that player somehow missed someone standing still right in front of her in a slow handshake line. That does not make sense. She saw her. Of course she saw her. The movement was not random. The turn was not a mistake. When you are walking in a line and someone is directly in front of you with their hand out, and you turn away before reaching them, your body is sending a clear message. It was a choice. A deliberate one. Anyone who has competed at a high level understands that kind of body language. It is the same energy seen in many intense competitive moments. Athletes do not always speak their frustration. Sometimes silence says everything. But before jumping to conclusions, there is an important difference between a moment of frustration and deep hatred. What happened in that handshake line was not a declaration of war. It was a raw moment of competitive frustration. And to understand why that happened, you have to stop focusing on the handshake and actually watch the game. Look at the full 40 minutes before that moment. Team USA was winning on the scoreboard, but internally the offense was not running smoothly. Caitlin Clark was doing exactly what she was brought in to do.
But right now, we're talking about Caitlin Clark. It's been a busy offseason for you. We talked about her playing with Team USA.
She was leading in scoring. She was making assists. She was controlling the pace. She had the highest plus-minus on the team. She was doing her job at the highest level. Angel Reese was also performing her role. She was dominating rebounds. She was fighting inside the paint. She was securing boards consistently. But as the game against Puerto Rico continued, a problem started to appear. Angel Reese, whose role is to grab rebounds and pass to the point guard, began stepping outside that role. Instead of passing the ball to Clark, she started dribbling herself. She began bringing the ball up the court. She initiated plays, attempted passes outside her usual skill set, and in some confusing moments, she even held the ball away from Caitlin Clark during recovery situations. Think about that carefully. Let it really sink in. You have one of the best defensive playmakers in modern women's basketball standing there asking for the ball, ready to run the offense.
Shut up. We're going to go talk to some of her teammates to see what are some of their best Caitlin clapbacks, or...
And the forward is signaling her to stay back and play like a point forward. If you understand basketball, you know exactly what this does to a team. It slows everything down. It damages spacing. It disrupts timing. It breaks the rhythm of the main ball handler. It creates unnecessary chaos in a team that is supposed to show the best level of basketball. For a highly competitive point guard like Caitlin Clark, watching a teammate disrupt the flow is not just frustrating, it is deeply irritating. It is like a professional being stopped from doing their job properly. That kind of situation affects focus and performance. So when the final buzzer sounded, Clark was not thinking about cameras or public reaction. She was thinking about the broken plays. She was replaying the mistakes in her mind. She was reacting like a competitive athlete who had just gone through a frustrating game. That is why the handshake was skipped. Not because of hatred, not because of any personal issue. It was simply frustration in that moment. That is the full story. Everything else is interpretation. And this is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable, because there is a clear double standard that needs to be discussed.
The WNBA draft is this Monday, and Iowa star Caitlin Clark is expected to be the #1 pick.
If two male superstars had a frustrating game and one of them skipped the handshake, nobody would have reacted. Not once, not even for a single second. We have decades of clear evidence proving this again and again. We have seen Chris Paul completely ignore his own teammates in the huddle during the 2021 Phoenix Suns playoff run, visibly frustrated and annoyed with defensive breakdowns and miscommunication on the court. And the media did not criticize him for it. Instead, they called him a floor general, a leader who was holding his team accountable and demanding a higher level of performance. We have seen Draymond Green, a player who literally punched his own teammate Jordan Poole during a Golden State Warriors practice in 2022, get suspended, return, and still be praised as the emotional backbone and heartbeat of a championship team. We have historical footage of Kobe Bryant refusing to pass the ball for entire quarters, staring down teammates like Dwight Howard and Paul Gasol with clear frustration and intensity in his eyes, and then walking straight to the locker room without acknowledging anyone around him. Nike did not distance themselves from him. Instead, they built the entire Mamba Mentality brand around that exact mindset and sold it globally as the ultimate example of competitive greatness. And we have watched Tom Brady smash Microsoft Surface tablets on the sideline like they personally offended him, shouting at his offensive line on national television during the 2022 season, showing visible frustration in front of millions of viewers. And ESPN did not criticize that behavior, they turned it into highlights, saying Tom Brady still has the fire and the competitive edge. LeBron James has thrown chairs, slammed scoring tables, and openly called out teammates during post-game press conferences. And the reaction from the sports world was that this is why he is one of the greatest leaders in basketball history. And how did the sports world describe all of this behavior? They called it passion. They called it competitive greatness. They praised the relentless desire to win and the refusal to accept mediocrity from teammates. Entire brand empires, documentary series, and streaming content were built around the idea that elite male athletes are allowed, even encouraged, to be intense, emotional, demanding, and sometimes difficult during competition. That behavior was not just accepted, it was turned into a business, it was monetized and celebrated. But the moment something similar happened in women's basketball, the entire narrative changed instantly. The tone shifted completely. The media and the fans treated Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese like they were part of a high school drama situation instead of what they actually are, professional athletes competing at the highest level of their sport. Nobody called it competitive fire. Nobody said Caitlin Clark was holding her teammates to a higher standard or showing leadership through intensity. Instead, the headlines sounded like gossip stories. The public expects female athletes to always smile, always support each other, and always appear perfectly in sync with one another. Serena Williams faced this exact issue throughout her entire career. Every moment where she showed frustration, every racket she smashed, was treated as a flaw in her character. Meanwhile, male tennis players destroyed equipment, shouted on court, and were praised for their passion and competitive drive. The moment women show that same raw, honest, competitive intensity that defines every great sports dynasty, the reaction becomes dramatic and negative. It is unfair to their talent. It is unfair to the sport itself. And honestly, it is unfair to the audience because people keep falling into the same narrative trap again and again. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are not required to be best friends. They are not required to celebrate together, smile together, or behave in a certain way after every single game. They are professionals working in one of the most high-pressure and highly watched environments in modern sports. They are allowed to have a bad day. They are allowed to feel frustrated. They are allowed to be annoyed with each other in the moment. That does not make them enemies. It makes them human competitors. And the sooner people accept that women should be allowed to compete with the same intensity and fire that men are praised for, the sooner sports culture will become more honest and fair. But you cannot talk about this moment without also talking about the system that turned it into a massive story. The reason this short clip dominated the conversation for multiple days is because of the massive attention economy built around Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. These two players are no longer just athletes playing basketball. They are major public figures. They are content drivers. They generate more engagement than entire sports leagues combined. They represent different styles of play, different personalities, and in the eyes of their fans, completely different ideas and identities.
If I would have switched you and Larry Bird, and you played for Indiana State and Larry played for Michigan State.
They brought friction. They created a rivalry so strong that it helped revive an entire league that was struggling with low viewership and declining interest. Before that era, NBA Finals games were sometimes shown on delay because the audience was not large enough. After their rivalry took off, the league grew rapidly and signed massive television deals worth billions. They gave people a reason to watch, even if they had never followed basketball before. Fans started choosing sides, getting emotionally invested, and tuning in regularly. That is exactly what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are doing for women's basketball right now. Their college championship game drew millions of viewers and became one of the most watched games in years. Their professional matchups have broken multiple viewership records. One of their games reached millions of viewers on national television, numbers that even some high-level games would consider impressive. Rivalry creates attention. Attention brings viewers. Viewers bring money, sponsorships, full arenas, and bigger opportunities for the league. Major media deals and financial growth are directly connected to this level of interest. The debates, the online arguments, the short clips, the breakdown videos, all of it contributes to the growth of the sport. Whether people like it or not, attention drives everything in modern sports media. The system works in a very simple way. Context does not spread as fast as emotion. A detailed explanation of basketball strategy might not reach many people. But a short emotional moment, something easy to understand without deep knowledge, spreads instantly. Anyone can watch a clip and react emotionally within seconds. Social media platforms recognize that emotional reaction and push the content to more and more people. The result is massive engagement. One viral post about this moment reached tens of millions of views in a very short period of time. Edited videos, dramatic music, zoomed-in clips, all of it helped amplify the story. The focus was not on what actually happened during the game. The focus was on the reaction and the drama. The people pushing the narrative were not focused on technical details like passing decisions, offensive flow, or team structure. They were focused on the emotional reaction and the potential for engagement. And the system delivered exactly what it was designed to deliver. Strong reactions, division, debate, and record-breaking engagement numbers. All built on a very short moment that only showed a small part of the full story. And here is the most important part. The strongest proof that this entire situation was misunderstood came shortly after. Evidence appeared that challenged the entire narrative, but it did not receive attention because it was not dramatic or emotional enough. When Team USA returned to the court to face a strong team from Italy, the focus shifted back to the actual game itself, where performance, teamwork, and execution told a much more complete story.